Nirmalaji, can you hear me?
We do.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Just give me a minute. Ankit, in the meantime, can you start? We can start right now. Mr. Saraugi is there. Mr. Panwar is there. Mr. Paolone has also joined.
Sarogi sir, namaskar.
Namaskar. Hello, how are you? Good evening, Mr. Panwar. How are you? Really, namaste.
Namaskar, Saraugi ji, namaskar.
Namaste. कैसे हो sir? How are you?
All well, sir. All well.
Great.
Yeah.
You are doing good job today. Very good job.
ये सब इतना सालों से आपका आशीर्वाद आपका साथ रहा है and for so many years इतने सालों से आपका साथ रहा है and really feel blessed. You have always given your support to this industry.
Not only this job, you are doing other job also na. Very nice manner. Really great. I know you
Thank you,
very well.
Sarabhi. Thank you
Now
so
you are
much.
doing a lot.
I think we are really.
Mr. Paolone, can you hear me?
Yes. Sorry, let me switch on the. Okay, here we are.
Thank you, Mr. Paolone. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Modelia, can you hear me?
Sure. Oh, I opened the camera as well. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, no problem.
Good afternoon, Mr. Modelia. Thank you for joining us. All these years that we have worked with Mr. Benedetti, it's been a wonderful experience. And I have not seen someone as sharp, as intelligent as Mr. Benedetti. If you say a few words, he understands what you mean. That was so special about Mr. Benedetti. And we all feel touched when everyone shares their moments. Mr. Saraugi was also kind enough to share his photograph with Mr. Benedetti. Same with Mr. V.R. Sharma. And so many others who shared their moments they spent with Mr. Benedetti. And he was a man who could connect with everyone. So it's really a great moment of memories that we come to share today. The legacy which he has brought to the entire Danelli family, I call it Danelli family because the entire organization has been held like a family. It's worked like a family, and it for years to come, it will remain a family. Mr. Panwar, you have also been associated with this.
Now 24 years interaction. Thanks a lot, Nirmalaji, for organizing this. This is really very kind of you, I would say.
Yes, this is a moment for us to relive the life which he has all given us to move ahead. And as you can read behind Mr. Paolone's board, Danelli answers to be a step ahead. So that is what Mr. Benedetti taught us, to be a step ahead of others, to think before others do.
And organizing this in India, especially because, India was so close to his heart. So many people he knew personally. Really very nice.
Yes.
So let us know what are the.
We will get started in about a minute. So before we move on to our the introduction of the speakers today, what I would request you to just go through the life of Mr. Benedetti with the short slides. Ankit, if you could just go through the slides of Mr. Benedetti. Mr. Benedetti was a great leader, as we all know, a mentor to all of us, and 60 years that he has given to this industry is unparalleled. Yeah. Next slide, Ankit. So you can see he started under the Danelli flag in 1961 as a designer in the technical office for long product rolling mills. continued as a project engineer, and then plant startup engineer. He became the manager of rolling mill process and roll pass design offices in 1968 and director of research and development in 1976. He became sales director in 1982 and was appointed Danelli Group Managing Director in 1986. 4 years later, he ascended to Group President and CEO. From October 2003, he drove the company as Chairman of the Board of Directors, and till his last day, we remember him as the Chairman of the Board. Yeah, so ABS, as you know, was again a plant very close to him. Then he received his honorary degrees from on mechanical engineering, management engineering, and international business between 2010 and 18. In June 2006, the National Order of Chivalry was the knighthood of the Order of Merit of Italian Republic was conferred on him. In 2018, in recognition of his leadership in steelmaking technology and plant building, he received the Senzheimer Memorial Medal from AIST in US. Yeah, we know the achievements of Mr. Benedetti, the endless casting rolling process, which was developed by Mr. Benedetti. So this is what we take with us. He taught us that success is not measured solely by financial results, but also by our ability to keep authentic values that are the foundation of every great industrial group. His legacy lives in Danelli projects, in his initiatives, in the hearts and daily actions, honoring the memory of our chairman of Danelli. We will always remember him as the chairman of Danelli, who pursued his vision all through his life. So with that, Mr. Mundhara ji, namaskar.
नमस्कार सर.
कैसे हैं आप? All well?
Yeah. Fantastic.
So again, it's great to have Mr. Satya Bodha ji, namaskar, and good to see you. I still remember the days of Mr. Mezulich, when Mr. Mezulich was there, and Satya Bodha was always our favorite. I remember when in all languages during the Danelli Innovation meeting, introduction was happening. It was Mr. Satya Bodha who introduced Danelli India at that platform. So it's been long association that I have had with Mr. Satya Bodha. Now he is with Liberty Group, and he has spent a good time with Danelli. And people who have left Danelli are the ones who would be able to throw more light on what Mr. Benedetti exactly was. Because when you within the organization, you always say good things about people, but the real life of a person when he moves out of the organization and realizes what the values are, the value system is. Mr. Narhols is again one more person who was with Danelli Centromet, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Narhols.
You're right. I was Danelli Centromet and then responsible as CSO of Danelli, yes.
Yes, and also the fact that you were the only perhaps German who was there in both Rio. Those days
let's say the only German speaking. I'm Austrian. I take care of this.
Yes. So it's again
but I was probably the one who met him as a competitor, as a part of the management team, as a consultant, and as a client. So I know him from all angles.
Thank you, Mr. Narhols. It's great to have all of you on board. So now let us begin with a brief introduction of today's speakers. Mr. Rolando Paolone, who is the CEO and Group CTO of Danelli, a person very close to me, someone I respect from the bottom of my heart, a wonderful person, a person who has risen from the ranks. He has spent almost 40 years in this organization, and he knows Danelli like the back of his hand. Mr. Paolone, a special thanks to you. Mr. Panwad, whom again I know from his days in Indomag, perhaps almost 30 years that I know him now, and then in Danelli Chorus and now in Danelli India. Again, Mr. Panwad has spent a very good time, not only in Danelli, but the entire industry itself. So my special thanks to Mr. Panwad, Managing Director of Danelli India. Next is Mr. Modelia, whom I got introduced when he was in Thailand. That was again very long ago when he was representing Danelli in Thailand from those days. And it was wonderful working with Mr. Modelia all these years. I have interviewed him. And again, a person with whom I have spent a good amount of time. Thank you, Mr. Modelia, for being here today to live the memories of Mr. Benedetti.
Thank you to you.
Mr. Santosh Mundhada, when I initially used to visit those days, which was SR Steel, it was really wonderful to interact with Mr. Mundhada those days, and he used to take me in the plant in Hazira, which is now ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India, and now he's also the member of the managing board of ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India, and he heads the entire operations, the entire plant of Hazira operations. So thank you, Mr. Mundhada, for years that we have known each other, and a wonderful person Mr. Mundhada is. Thank you, Mr. Mundhada. Mr. Thomas Nordholz, as I said, even when he was in Nordic Steelwise, I got a chance to interview him, and then before that, we had a good interactions when he was in Danelli. For so many years, Mr. Nordholz has been associated with this industry, and thanks for joining us today. Then Mr. Satya Bodha, as I said, from the beginning, I remember when Mr. Mezulich, during Mr. Mezulich's time, we had the inauguration of the Danelli India workshop in Sri City. So from those days, Mr. Satya Bodha, I have known him for so many years, and we've always been in touch. We used to meet in Dubai for the Middle East conference, and then we have taken this relationship forward, and he's always been in touch with us. And nevertheless, he's always been a very honest and very religious person. I remember once Mr. Majuli said, "Bodha, where are you?" He said, "Sir, I am in a temple." So he's again a man with great religious virtue, and thanks for being with us, Mr. Satya Bodha. Mr. Saraugi.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Saraugi, again, it's been a very long time that I have known him during his days in JSPL initially, and then he moved to the Middle East. And right now he's the CEO of Vulcan Green Steel, and it goes without saying that Vulcan Steel has also placed an order on Danelli. Mr. Saraugi, if I'm not mistaken, you placed the order for the DRI module, right?
Yes, 6 DRI module.
Yes. So a big customer, again, Mr. Saraugi is of Danelli, and a great friend of Mr. Benedetti as well. CEO, Vulcan Green Steel, part of Jindal Steel and Power in Oman. So thank you, Mr. Saraugi, for joining us today.
Thank you.
With that, we will now move on to a small reading from the Bible. My executive assistant and my colleague, Amanda. Amanda, are you here? Yes, Amanda. So we will begin with a small reading of Amanda Loudon is my executive assistant who will read out a small verse from the Bible. She is a Roman Catholic herself, so she will read out a little bit from the Bible in memory of Mr. Benedetti. Over to you, Amanda, before we go ahead.
Yes. A reading from the Holy Bible from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 14 to 17. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so, through Jesus, God will bring with him those who have died. For this we declare to you by the word of the Lord, that we who are alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will by no means precede those who have died. For the Lord himself, with a cry of command, with the archangel's call, and with the sound of God's trumpet, will descend from heaven, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive, who are left, will be caught up in the clouds together with them to meet the Lord in the air, and so we will be with the Lord forever. This is the word of the Lord.
Okay, so in memory of Mr. Benedetti, let us just pray with 1 minute of silence in memory of his soul. May his soul rest in peace. Let us pray him for a minute in silence. Thank you, gentlemen. It's really a very somber moment where we come here to relive the memory of a person who meant so much for this industry at large. I call him a legend because there is a great legacy which Mr. Benedetti has given to us by virtue of not just the technology and the equipments which Danelli provided to customers around the world. I remember traveling with Mr. Benedetti because he was out of the three big darlings. Perhaps Danelli is the only organization whose chairman was also the head of the Italian Steel Producers Association. So he was the only one who used to be there for all our World Steel Association annual meetings. Every World Steel Association annual general meeting, I used to meet Mr. Benedetti. And I have seen the wonderful relationship he shared with every CEO, every steel making company around the world. And he was a man, I would say, made perfectly for PR, which means not public relation, but personal relation. He had a personal relation with every chairman, whether it was Lakshmi Mittal, whether it was ThyssenKrupp, it was voestalpine Stahl, any CEO of any steelmaker, Mr. Benedetti had a personal touch with him. So, we all will carry forward with the leadership which Mr. Benedetti has given us over the years. And I'm sure the organization, even after so many years, after 150 years, will continue with the legacy which Mr. Benedetti had given this organization. I know him right from the beginning, from say early 90s. And there were so many moments which I would like to, but because of paucity of time, I can't share all those moments. But he once came up and told me, "Do you know I'm your competitor?" I said, "What, Mr. Benedetti?" "Yes, I have done news which is better than yours." So I said, "Okay, Mr. Benedetti." He said, "No, don't worry, I will not compete with you." So there are great moments I enjoyed with Mr. Benedetti for so many years. And it will not finish if I finish. Well, when I was invited by Danelli to one of the steel plants in Ukraine, which is now in trouble. The company was called Interpipe. And after visiting Interpipe in Dnepropetrovsk in Ukraine, when I came back and told him, "Mr. Benedetti, it was a wonderful plant." He said, "You have seen the plant. but have you seen the art of steelmaking? In Interpipe, you see the art of steelmaking. So Mr. Benedetti has he had a passion for art. He had a love for art. And that is what, when you go and see plants like Interpipe, you see not just the technology of steelmaking, but what art of steelmaking is, how beautiful the art can be. So without further ado, I would like to take this forward with our first speaker, and someone with whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for, a wonderful human being, and someone who is very close, who has always been very close to Mr. Benedetti. And I remember last October when I was with Mr. Paolone, and he told me, look at what boss has done. So I was staying in the hotel just across the Danelli in Botrio, and entire design was, I believe, it was a brainchild of Mr. Benedetti himself, which was a wonderful, and we will all be there for DIM next month. I mean, this month itself. End of this month, we will be in Danelli headquarters to see the legacy which Mr. Benedetti has brought to this company. So over to you, Mr. Paolone, to share how wonderful it's been, your journey of 40 years, more than 40 years in this organization, and what legacy Mr. Benedetti has brought to us. Mr. Paolone, you're muted. You have to unmute.
Yeah. Should be okay now, yeah? Is it?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I said in these days, everybody is telling stories about this great man. And it's not always easy to remember him, because he really did a lot for us, for the company, for the steel industry, as everybody said, and so on. I am in the company, as you said, from some time. I started 1985. I was a draftsman. And he was already in the company from about 25 years. Okay, so he started close to 1961. I was a young designer, just a designer draftsman. And he was, I didn't know him because he was the sales director. There is some distance between these disciplines in some ways. What I remember that after a few months, Luigi Danieli left the company, the leadership of the company, to Cecilia Danieli and to Mr. Benedetti. And suddenly, so few weeks ago, after, I think, something like that, so it was very beginning for me. I remember the first meeting I had with this gentleman. I was in the technical office in the evening, late evening, because we had a trouble in one side. So myself and the leader of the office, we were in the office trying to solve the problem. So I was working on my drawing board. And unexpectedly, he came in. He asked, what are we doing in the office at that time? And so we explained what was the point. So he wanted to understand in detail what was the problem, what we wanted to do, what we expect to do, what we expect to obtain from this modification. Then he wanted to understand how the customer could do in the meantime, because if you have to manufacture parts, you need, of course, to cover the time where the parts are not ready. Then he wanted to know where we are going to manufacture, who's going to do the job, and so on. So it was a technical discussion first. So he appreciated the beginning because it was really a technical discussion. He went through the details. He tried to understand why and this and that, suggest something. And then it was really an approach, 360 degrees, not just, okay, there is a drawing, there is a modification, somebody will do it, and so on. No, it was covering the whole story, the whole process. So he transferred to me the fact that in engineering, we are not just doing drawings, we are part of a process which can make the difference for the steel producer, because it can be a success or vice versa. No? So it was the first time I was approaching things in this way. So I was young, and I saw this man that was, okay, he was about 40 something, yes. And that time, yeah, about 42, 43. And he was really explaining how we should approach the job. So the job is not to do your own job, so make the drawing for myself, but start to think what is around, what is going to happen at the end. If you really can do if you can really solve the problem, when you can do it, when the timing is very important, because the customer in the meantime, what is going to do. So it opened to me, let's say, a new way to approach, because, you know, I was coming from school, I was a young engineer, pins and flanges, no? I was a draftsman of these basic things. But I remember this very well, because I saw this man entering, I didn't know him, then I understood he was the sales director, and he wanted to go in detail, all the details. Later on, I understood that his history was similar in some ways. He started as a technician, he was on site, so he made all the steps before to become sales. Okay, what else? This was for me really something that was a key point, one of the first lessons, if I can use this word. Then, as you know, in the last years, I shared the office with the president, and I have been able to appreciate him behind, you know, the scene, behind the public. He's okay. He knows him well. He knows that, okay, he was always laughing or joking, as you said before. No, when he told you are a competitor, he was approaching like that also with customers. The customers that are present, probably they saw him like that. Sometimes he's really joking to try to transfer information, to try to explain better what happened, to make the things easier, no? Because sometimes people is talking from the top of the pulpit, you know. No, he's sitting down close to us and explaining directly what we should do and why. So it was really very, very nice to be close to him. He was, okay, one funny story. He remembered the birthday of all the close people he has, the secretary, myself, some other guys in the top management. And so one time for my birthday, I was in Sweden, business trip, on those days, and suddenly I received a phone call, a WhatsApp call from him. I saw it was him, so I switched on the phone, and on the other side there was him and the secretaries, and they were singing, you know, "Happy birthday to you," you know. So this gentleman, you cannot imagine him close with these ladies, with these girls, to do that. Who don't know him well cannot imagine this guy doing that. But this was also Mr. Benedetti. And okay, another thing, he was, at least here in Italy, we are a lot talking about the fact that he was helping young people. So supporting schools. Okay, we have the internal academy, but we are also supporting the public school here in Udine, etc., universities and so on. Because he has only a good... he thinks that, okay, he's correct, of course, that young people are the future. And so he tries to prepare the future as best in the best way, let's say. And about me, this reflects in the fact that I was not every day, but every week he was coming to me or calling me and saying, how is the situation of the young, good guys that we have in the group, in the company? And so we make a list of people and so on. And so he was always asking me to be sure that nobody is stopping them, because, you know, sometimes the office leader, if he's not looking too far away, you know, some of these people, they try to keep their power, they don't open doors to other people and so on. So the growth is not easy. So he was continuously asking, be sure that in your teams, the people that are good people, that the young guys that can do things well and so on, have the space to grow, the space to climb and so on. So these are the things. So to make it very, very easy, no, Mr. Benedetti, I think you can summarize it in two ways. You can, okay, you start from a certain point, you work hard, you reach a certain level, so in results, in position, whatever. When you are there, you look at you and say, okay, but if you are there, for sure you can go a little bit higher. Why not? No, because it is, if you get there, you can do a little bit more. And the second point is, okay, work for your target and never give up. So applying these two things, of course, the growing is continuous. Everybody will, this amount will be for everybody different probably, no, because we are not all the same. But this, it was really a continuous lesson, a very, very good push for getting better, for improving, and so on. So a great man. I think there are other guys who can say something more on their experiences. So I think I can leave to them.
Yes, Mr. Paolone, please stay with us, and thank you so much for sharing the wonderful experiences of the 40 years, more than 40 years that you spent with Mr. Benedetti. And the more you talk about him, you realize that it's far less than what the great individual was. You cannot explain in totality the magnanimity of Mr. Benedetti. He was always so down to earth. I never saw him as the chairman of the company. I saw him as someone who will put his hands around your shoulders and tell you, "Can you drink some more wine?"
Yeah.
That kind of a person. It's a legacy I will never forget. There are certain people who keep an impression forever. So Mr. Benedetti was one such person who will keep the impression forever. Moving forward, I would request Mr. Panwar, Mr. Gajendra Panwar, who was initially with Danelli Chorus as managing director and now Danelli India as managing director. Again, someone who spent so many years working with Mr. Benedetti under his leadership and moving Danelli India to a very strong position that it is in today. If you know the history of Danelli in India, initially there was a big issue, a big challenge which Mr. Benedetti has to face when one of the persons had betrayed Danelli India, and he went and filed a case for which Danelli had to really bang its head to come out of the crisis. But it was Mr. Benedetti who had, in fact, at that point of time, approached Sonia Gandhi, the then leader of UPA, to bail out Danelli India, if you know how big a crisis it was. So from that situation, and I would really say it was the greatness of Mr. Benedetti which brought Danelli India to where it is today. I would request Mr. Panwar to share the moments which he has experienced working with Mr. Benedetti.
Thank you for the introduction. Friends, of course, Mr. Benedetti was a legend. He was a legend, and wish we were not having this memorial, wish he could have continued. It's a sad moment for all of us. But I must say, at least good thing is that he left on the world on high note. The business doing well, the things in the company are doing very good. So he really left on a good note. And what I understand, he did not have too much of suffering. So at least that is something of a savior or a better feeling for us. It's a privilege for me to speak about Mr. Benedetti, such a great person. He was a great leader, as everybody knows, great innovator, great entrepreneur, and of course, he was a great human being. In his lifetime, Mr. Benedetti, amalgamated so many technology companies together under the umbrella of Danelli that today Danelli covers the entire range of integrated steel plants and also the best of the best technologies. And all this in a lifetime, Mr. Benedetti did for us, and we will continue this legacy of him in our company. Mr. Benedetti was a great well-wisher of Indian steel industry. He knew most of the steel companies, especially the big ones, and he knew many of the leaders of these steel companies personally, to the extent that he even knew how they think, what they like, what they prefer with respect to technology. And he used to, guide us to minute details. So that is something very special, even at this age. He would have been 82 on 16th May, and still having that kind of clarity of thoughts and explanation to us in such detail. Really, it was amazing. You know, I had first interaction with Mr. Benedetti in 2000, 2001. He was in his 60s, close to 60s, and I was still in 30s. And this was 2000, 2001, the annually open week, where all these steel industry stalwarts or experts get together in Danieli, and they spend almost a week together. And in this Danieli Open Week, Mr. Benedetti was leading all the presentations, meetings, and I was amazed. And the impression of Mr. Benedetti etched on my memory forever. The technologies which he talked about with passion, energy iron, passivated DRI, the endless casting rolling in ABS, all these technologies he was with so much passion he was talking about that I can never forget. And that is the reason, that the whole industry today, if you see, these are the technologies which are leading the art of steel making. And that is where Danieli is the front runner of steel plant technologies. Lot of from lot of well-wishers of Mr. Benedetti, lot of messages poured in, hundreds of messages poured in, even video messages poured in, for example, from BSRM chairman, Mr. Ali Hussain Ali Akbar Ali. So many people talked about Mr. Benedetti. It's really a good moment for us. I was hoping to meet Mr. Benedetti in Danieli Innovation meeting in this month, but sadly for all of us, we won't be. And that brings me to a word, innovation. Mr. Benedetti believed in action. So if you talk of innovation, that's not good enough. You have to combine innovation with action. So that's how, he brought us into that culture that we have to think of innovation. And that is why okay. The other thing which I can talk about is recently, since Mr. Santosh Mudada is there, he would relate. We were offering hot strip mill for their Hazira plant expansion. And you won't believe what amazing things were happening. Our Danieli R&D and Mr. Benedetti, they came up with an excellent concept called Quali hot strip mill, which is in, I would not go in detail, but in general terms, it was a combination of quality QSP plant, endless casting rolling, with hot strip mill. And the beauty of producing thin gauges with high quality and still having high productivity, this Mr. Benedetti was treating as a child with enthusiasm. He was presenting all the technologies. Mr. Mundada would remember all the presentations, discussions he was leading himself. Apart from that, amazing thing is that he was talking to me daily basis. Have you explained all the savings? Have you explained all the benefits? Have you talked to all the stakeholders? What is the impression of stakeholder 1, 2, 3, 4? Everybody, he was so really, I learned a lot in that process myself, that how much enthusiastic a person can be. And this is, I'm talking 1 year back only. So, of course, that is what Mr. Benedetti did. And, he used to say, disruption of technology is not just to fulfill a need. We have to create a need. First, we have to develop a product which will create the need. Just like mobile phones, when there was no mobile phones, there was no need. But today, nobody can live without mobile phone. So this is the kind of thought process he had, even at this age. He was, I would say, state of art in his complete thinking methods. Up to 2-3 weeks back, we were getting continuous inter-office memos from him. He used to read all the steel magazines globally and would make his comments, would circulate to the senior management and give his guidance. And off and on, he would ask for, even KPIs. So this is the kind of legacy Mr. Benedetti left behind for us. And on this note, I must say, I wish his soul rest in peace. Danially, we will work on the path he laid for us. We will continue to carry on his legacy, bring Daniel into leadership position wherever we work for. And as the motto and also repeated by Mr. Paolone, Danially, we never give up. So this is something from me about Mr. Benedetti. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Panwar. Really, it was thought-provoking to note that Mr. Benedetti personally got into the depth of every subject, and he would ensure that the customer is appropriately briefed on every nitty-gritty of a project. So, Mr. Modelia, I have only one request to make. They say the customer gets a preference. So, Mr. Mundhada, your customer, he has to leave for a meeting. Can you give him the permission to speak just before you, moving him a little ahead of you? If you permit him, he would like to conclude, and then you can take over after he does. I have your permission to allow Mr. Mundhada to...
Please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Mundhada, you can carry on. Yes.
Thank you so much for giving this privilege. So while my association with Danieli goes over decades, precisely more than 3 decades, I'm associated with Danieli as a customer in some or another technology. The interaction with Mr. Benedetti was around of a year, which Mr. Panwar has explained just now. And I feel, not only me, my colleagues feel, when this news came in, they all feel that we had more than a decade interaction with him in such a short time. And this is in a very, very true words I'm expressing it. Matter of fact, the moment we got this news, I immediately called early morning to Mr. Panwar, and they were in a grip. So about Mr. Benedetti, even yesterday I was discussing with Mr. Oman, and he said that I think he is around 80, 81, something like that. But knowing this, even we have a lot of respect. Basically, my interaction, what I said, our interaction was much more immense, and we are in an expansion phase right now. We were deciding on our hot strip mill, and then suddenly there was a letter from our chairman, Mr. Ellen Mittal, and that forwarded letter was from Mr. Benedetti. And when we gone through it, so precisely written the letter, means one can even learn how to write a letter, how to write so many things in very, very short words. Honestly telling, I have still preserved that. And then thereafter, there were series of discussions. He wanted to get the new technology in India. And we were of the opinion that it is first time, and with such a high investment, we were not ready. So you can understand. And then we told him that you, as a Danieli, please go for conventional meal, which was very easy for him to do. And Mr. Panwar knows, and entire team knows in India, and the kind of persuasion he did. and the kind of technical insights he has brought up, and he has not given up till end, I can tell you. And in a process where we were really not ready to get engaged, we slowly started engaging with that. And there, he wanted that at least we should understand this technology. And now I'm really telling you, we are talking about it. Very recently, couple of months back, I called Mr. Panwar and I said that whatever we were not ready to listen at that time, for whatever reason, I said that we got into it, we find it as a technology and all that, and we wanted to get engaged with that. So what I'm saying, basically the innovative ideas, and as it has been said that he himself was making presentations and all that. At this age also, we have seen when one presentation he gave to Mr. Oman and everybody, he himself led that presentation. So great, great technocrat, I may say, and the one highly innovative, and the kind of things he has put. And there was a time when we used to all, even Daniel India and ourselves, we used to say that when we are, because they also thought, even Mr. Panwar and everybody, that is okay, let us not give up. And at last he said, and which are the words will always remain with us, he said that I want to see this technology working in my life cycle. And my life cycle is not very long. And I want to see this, because these are, today I feel that will be a real. Hello?
Yeah, you can
Hello?
continue. You can continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think there was a net issue. So
Yeah,
this
please
is,
continue.
I think, is a homage from our side. We will continue engaging in this technology. We'll see. And it would have been nice to have this in his presence, but he has seen so many such innovations coming true. I wish entire I wish his soul to be in peace, as well as give entire Danieli family, friends, enough strength to bear this loss. And I really appreciate Mr. Mukherjee for organizing it so well. He is the one who is keeping entire steel fraternity, entire steel world together. So thank you very much for expressing this, and Panwar Sahab will take this together forward.
Thank you, Mundharaji. Thank you so much. And over the years, the relationship I have shared with you, I'm really grateful. And also to Dilip. Dilip has been a wonderful friend over the last 30 odd years that I have known him. I have special regard for Dilip because I have spent so much time talking about the growth of this industry with Dilip, that I'm really grateful for Dilip. And I'm also grateful to Mr. Mittal for all that he has done for this industry. I have interviewed him. I happen to be a fortunate one among the only 8 journalists from India who was taken to his plants in Brazil, at Luxembourg in his headquarters, and then in the R&D facility in Mézières, France. So I'm grateful to Mr. Mittal for all that he has done for the industry, and also especially to Dilip for being a wonderful friend over the years. So thank you, Mr. Mundada, for all. Yeah,
they all
for
have
all
a lot
that.
of respect for you, and thank you very much, Mr. Antonillo, for letting me speak first. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Sorry. Yeah.
It is an example what Danelli can do for its customers. It can do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Modelia, a warm welcome to you, and it's your turn, because I remember my interaction with you we used to meet during the Southeast Asia Iron and Steel Institute conferences way back when you were in Thailand. Even before, I would say, Giacomo came to Thailand. That was before Giacomo Mareschi Danelli came to Thailand from those days. And I know both of you have the one thing in common. Both of you have Thai wives. So that's one thing which connects you and Giacomo together.
Okay.
And I have seen you both quarreling over how good a Thai wife can be. Giacomo is not very happy with a Thai wife, whereas you are very happy. That's a primary difference. So this was something which both of you were together when we were there in that conversation. Now, taking that forward, it's all because of the legacy Mr. Benedetti has brought in this organization. And wherever you are, Mr. Modelia, I would say you have also taken the technology to a greater height. And it's been wonderful, knowing you over the years and sharing the legacy. Now, may I request you to share your memories of Mr. Benedetti and how the company has moved forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukherjee, and really, it's a great, honor for us to let you to join this event, sad event, but let's say with a lot of lights in front of us. I'm in Danieli 24 years right now, and my entry interview was done by Mr. Benedetti. I also met him just when I was a site engineer in working per Waja Steel in the late years 80s, early, I think it was like 88, 89. I was in Malaysia, and there was a ceremony with the former president of Malaysia, and he joined that event with Cecilia Danieli. That was the only time I've seen Cecilia Danieli, because when I joined Danieli in 2000, that time, unfortunately, she passed away a year earlier, and was, Danieli, at the time, they asked me to be member of the head of sales for Southeast Asia. And, it was a good time, early 2000, because it was the time of Vietnam, many projects in that area. And then, it was also a good time for me to join and let's say communicate with Mr. Benedetti, because really he was really the center of the communication and also the center of the commercial activities of Danieli, because we talk a lot about his capability to invent, to create products, to bring ideas, but his very, very strong characteristic was really to manage the sales and to manage sales in a very, very smart way with very high capabilities. He was a very strong communicator, but also a very strong man with very strong empathy, because very, very easily, he could communicate with anybody. I did so many business trips with him, mainly to many countries, to Japan, to let's say US, to recently, in Austria as well. And, it was always a kind of, let's say, a job that was a job is still a job, but when you have a feeling, a pleasure to work, is no more a job, but become a passion, no? A passion. If I have to compare myself to be a sailor, in the ocean, that you travel in the middle of the waves and the storm, when you see far away a light coming from the lighthouse, that is, a kind of a message you receive. And for us, in Danieli, let's say we can compare Mr. Benedetti as our lighthouse, because, you know, he was really a reference point that you can always easily, you know, for us to communicate, exchange email, exchange WhatsApp. You know, in the past years, you know, he was very much passionate to read this, and he was a very big supporter. You know, at the time, after many years, I did the commercial part of Danieli. In 2012, I moved to Danieli Automation, and, you know, also here to take over a company that was led by, you know, a more senior but old person, and then the exchange switched to a young one because of my background as a electronic engineer. This was a very big supporter for my position. And the time we start to introduce a new vision to Danieli Automation, a new products mainly for control, for software, for power electronics. It was a great supporter, because, you know, it's very difficult to find in large group so really capable visionary that are giving you the possibility to express your capability and your wish. Because, you know, at time it was a great sample when we started to develop the famous Q1, because, you know, it was a very big question mark, you know, when you start to develop such a high tech but very complicated, complex machine. He was my best supporter, I can tell you, because, you know, it took several years for the development, a lot of money, but he always was telling me and telling everybody, go ahead, because don't give up. And was really, you know, he was really right, because, you know, most probably in other company, in other group, you are unable to succeed in the same way unless you have really in front of you not just the strong shareholder, but the decision maker, but also visionary. So, you know, today, you know, that is not anymore next to us. You know, it's like, you know, when you get, you know, you hurt yourself, you have, you drop, but the next few days you start to feel the pain. So, you know, we have to react, because, you know, really, you have the feeling that the game is, his life is over, but, you know, we have to hand over, and we have a lot of products for sure. We have huge market, we are leader. Well, we must express today also our capability as a managers to, you know, be able to hand over and make it better. He gave us a lot of teaching. He gave us a lot of instruction. He gave us a lot of culture. He gave us a lot of method to communicate. He gave us a lot of day-by-day education. So this is something that we learn in many years, all of us. And this is something that will, for sure, will generate more energy to us from today and the next years to perform in the market even better, successfully, under the point of products, under the point of communication, under the point of new technology development. So, for sure, you know, our life is called Alpha and Omega. We have a starting day. We have a final day. We never can change it, and the humanity will not be able to change it. The robots will not replace the man. The artificial intelligence will not replace the man. Whatever you want, the soul is inside us, and what we are thinking, what we can see with our eyes, even closed, will stay only inside us and forever. I wish, you know, all the relatives, all the families, all the friends, you know, my very deep and sincere condolence for this event, a very sad event, but our lighthouse is still there and will never turn off. Thank you very much, Mr. Mukherjee.
Thank you, Mr. Modelia. And as you rightly said, he was always an inspiring force. He was a great motivator. You know, the motivation which, if you remember, when the steel industry was not going through a good time, when we had the down cycle, it was Mr. Benedetti who said from capex to opex. So every time that the transformation or the change in strategy was required, Mr. Benedetti found out a way to move out of the cycle. Because as you know, our industry is very cyclical. Once it's at the top, then again it's at the bottom. So when you are at the bottom of the cycle, Mr. Benedetti knew exactly how to strategize so that jobs are not lost at Danelli. No one in Danelli loses their job. The work carries on. And in fact, today, if you see around the world, Danelli is seen as a company which will not do something stupid to make losses. You know, because of the intelligence Mr. Benedetti used to ensure that, you know, you carry on with the changing times, how you transform with the changing times. That is the greatness of Mr. Benedetti. And I'm sure, as you said, the soul lives on forever. So it is Mr. Benedetti's soul which will continue to guide this industry. My prayers are with Camilla and the entire Benedetti family, entire Danelli family, to may the Lord give the family the strength and the wisdom to continue with the legacy, to fight what Mr. Benedetti stood for. Mr. Benedetti's guidance and blessings will be with the family and with the greater Danelli family forever, for days and years ahead. So with that, I'll move on to someone who, as he said, he was the only German at that point of time in both Rio and, you know, he shared, I remember having attended, you know, presentations by him when he was heading the sales strategy at CSO. So it was wonderful in, you know, sharing knowledge with Mr. Narholz, Mr. Thomas Narholz, who's the founding partner at NPT AG, Switzerland, and TEC Austria, GmbH, and TEC Swiss AG. Earlier, he was with Norwegian Group, and he has spent a good time with interacting with Mr. Benedetti as well. So Mr. Narholz, followed by my good friend Satyabodha. So back to back, Mr. Narholz and Mr. Satyabodha. Mr. Narholz, you're muted. You have to unmute.
So thank you very much for this introduction. I have to say I was listening with a great passion to all the statements we have heard so much about Mr. Benedetti so far. I would like to thank you to organize this event, which brings together the managers, let's say the leading managers of Danelli, having more than 30 years of experience working with him, having customers on the other side, and having, like me, somebody who was competitor, because I believe that I'm the only one in this list having been competitor, negotiating with him the sales of my company at this time, and then working with him, and afterwards being again consultant and working with Danelli on various projects, and not only with Danelli, but we work with all the big OEMs, but we are steadily interacting with him even after I left the company in a very positive way. There was a lot of things said about his passion for technology, innovation, improvement not only in terms of technology, but also improvement of the team, of the attitude of managers and the exchange in the company, how things are moving on. I thought about this, and when I was invited to speak on this event, I wanted to take some notes. And I realized that the page was full immediately, and that I was jumping from personal interaction to innovation to experience on projects. At the end of the day, I skip everything, and I said I will simply continue what comes to my mind. One thing which you mentioned before, and I would like to come back to this, is two things. Number one, his passion for art. I remember very well, I brought the customer into Daniele and we had a meeting with Mr. Benedetti. And I think it was a complete mini meal for a flat, whatever we wanted to discuss. And we realized that the guy also had a passion for automotive and bicycles. And instead to talk about the plan, Mr. Benedetti started, you know that I won a prize where I was designing a motorbike, a motorbike, and I won the first prize. I can tell you we spent 1.5 hours not talking about the project, talking about this motorbike and the way he developed it and the way he designed it. So this brings me to one of his, let's say, favorite statements he always was using. And I believe all the people here in the round, at least who worked with him, know this statement. And he always said, you know, Mr. Nachholz, the difference between a man and a boy is the cost of the toy. So this was one of his favorite statements. And I believe his major toy was quite big and expensive because it was the steel industry. So he was always trying to, like we said before, to innovate, to find some new solutions, and he was never satisfied what is existing. He was always looking for this, what Mr. Paolone said, this next step, this when you have reached 99% or 100%, how to come to 105% at the end of the day. And when I entered the company, I was responsible for DCM, you know, for this electric steel making, because all my life I did electric steel making. Also at the time of VI, I was responsible there for the business in Fuchs for steel making. And I entered and we started a discussion on technique. And he said, you know what is your first job? I said, yes, let's see. We have to do electric arc furnace. No, you have to do an electric arc furnace without buckets. I hate buckets in the melt shop. I hate the moving around of these bloody big buckets and to open the furnace. So he said, whatever you want to design, you have the freedom. You can charge the scrap diagonal from the bottom, whatever you like. Think about what I call zero bucket. And this was a kind of start of some technologies which are still today in Daniele, where we start to innovate, to think about, to work on it, and to develop. You mentioned before I was maybe the only German. I insist I'm Austrian. You know, there's a difference between Austria and Germany. I speak German, but I'm still Austrian. But I believe Mr. Benedetti was the more German in the company than me, because he was always punctual. He was always on time. He always tried to do everything really nicely. And just another anecdote I have. I know that he was always on time, even we had meetings. And one day we had a meeting on a Saturday afternoon to discuss the cost of a project in a bigger team. We were 6-7 people invited to come in the office at Saturday afternoon. And not usual, the meeting was scheduled at 2. It was 2:30 and Mr. Benedetti was not there. So he arrived. It was a sunny summer afternoon. And he arrived and he apologized to be late. And he said, I will explain you why I was late. Okay. He was also had a passion for sports car, and he had a convertible sports car. And he said, you know, I was caught by the police driving a little bit too fast. And when they asked me, he said, do you know how fast you have been? He said, no, I was listening to the sound. So he was passionate by the technology, even by the car. He was said, I was not looking to how fast I was listening to the sound. So this was a little bit how he was moving on. And the other anecdote of punctuality and being German in a certain way, we had a private party in my home in Italy, and my wife invited friends and guests, and also Mr. Benedetti and his wife. And she said the meeting will start at 7. At 7:01, the first guest at the door was Mr. Benedetti with his wife. So he was really on time. And what was mentioned before, he was always passionate about to exchange and to learn about. Also, when I joined the company, I was spending sometimes in the plane with him time. And it was the 1-hour extensive discussion about how other companies, because I had experience not only in one company, I had experience in different companies, how other companies are doing managerial things, how other companies do training with the employees, how other companies do the development of people. So we had a permanent exchange on this item. And I believe what was said before and very often, it was, for me, it was a shock on this Sunday when I hear from some friends that he passed away, because at the end of the day, everybody was linking in a certain way Daniele with his person. So, and everybody was saying, what will happen if Mr. Benedetti is not anymore there? But I believe it is a big loss for the company, absolutely, and it's a very sad moment, and we keep him in our memories, how everybody, let's say, recognized him for a while. But he did also a nice statement, a nice presentation one time, which he called the new normal. And I believe for the Daniele team, now with all the reflection and all the let's say, the teaching and the memories he gave to them and the basis he gave for them, there is a new normal, and this new normal will be built up on what he was standing for. But I believe also Daniele is set up well, and in this case, I see a future under the memories or under the direction he gave to the company. That's it from my side. You know, when we did some memorial on LinkedIn, we used a sentence of Aristoteles, which says, in the darkest time, you have to look for the light. I believe that was, we choose this because I believe it was in his, let's say, it was in his mindset, it would have been appreciated by him, because he would guide, even in such a moment, he would always push the people to look for the future, to look for the light at the end of the tunnel and not on the other direction. So for me, I also can follow up what was said. I wish him all the best. I wish the family all the best. I wish him to rest in peace. And from this point of view, thank you very much again for the organization of this memorial meeting. And let's move on with all the memories, positive memories we have. And thank you very much for this possibility to talk.
Danke schön, Mr. Narhos. Thank you so much. In fact, the thing which I did not know about Mr. Benedetti, you pointed out today. When he was driving his car, he was listening to the noise and not to the speed.
Yeah.
That was the, in India, we have the father, we remember the father of the Jindals, Mr. O.P. Jindal, whom we belovedly call him as Bauji. You know, O.P. Jindal is known as a man who talks to the machines. You know, in India, when we refer to Bauji, you always say a man who used to talk to machines. That's how, and I had the opportunity of interviewing Bauji as well. A great personality I have seen. You know, if I can compare him with what you spoke about, Mr. Benedetti, I found similar qualities in Bauji. Some 25, 30 years ago, he said, you know, look at my hands. I have welded pipes with these hands, pair of hands. That was the legacy of Mr. O.P. Jindal, whom the same legacy I would share in terms of Mr. Benedetti. If you notice
one sentence here, what you said. Maybe one sentence you said, because welded. This reminds me of one thing. We should never forget that Mr. Benedetti developed the company from a manufacturer into an integrated provider of solutions. So that is also something which most probably should be remembered over this, let's say, long period of being in the leadership of this company.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And if you see the backdrop which I've used, the last line says, in the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. So it's the life in the years of Mr. Benedetti, which we have seen, the life till his end. Till his very end, he was very... In fact, last October, when I was there interviewing Mr. Rolando Paolone, who was just next to Mr. Benedetti's room on the first floor, you know, where his room is, just next to... And I happened to meet him accidentally on the corridor he was passing by. He looked as fit as ever. Even at 80 plus, he was always fit as ever. And he was always working in his entire career. He was never in bed. And that's a great quality about him. So he did not have to go through suffering. Lord was very kind to him, because he always believed in his karma in life. Karma in Indian philosophy is the work that you do in life. So with that, I'll move on to my good friend Satya Bodha, who has always seen Danelli from both ends, like you, both as a customer and both as a part of Danelli. So let me understand what thoughts Satya Bodha has in mind. Satya Bodha earlier was, as you know, with Moon Iron and Steel. Now he is with Liberty. He is director of DFG Alliance, Liberty Steel Group. He's director on the board. So over to you, my good friend Satya Bodha.
Thank you. Good afternoon. What is this? S&M something coming on the background? Can you just?
What is coming? I can't see anything on the background. You're absolutely fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good afternoon again. I think it was in the year 2007, 2008, in the month of May, in Delhi, very hot. I think Panwarji, Sarvogiji, everyone knows Delhi very hot in May, June, July. And I was asked by Mr. Vinod Mittal to come to his suite in Taj Mahal Hotel. So it was morning, he invited me to have a breakfast meeting with him. I had no clue. I just thought, okay, like any breakfast, I entered his suite. And then I see an elderly gentleman, that time itself, I would say, an elderly gentleman with a very big drawing sheet, almost A0 size. So much of details, everything. Then Mr. Vinod Mittal told me, Satya, I don't understand this big drawings. You just check with him. And then he told the old gentleman, who's not old, of course, young, but looking very experienced, Mr. Benedetti, that you speak to Satya, whatever it is, I don't understand. Then Mr. Benedetti, I was just 26, 27-year-old. Then like a professor, he explained everything on that A0 size drawing. This is what it is. This is how it comes. He was showing the new thin slab casting rolling technology which he developed, and he wanted that time Ispat Industries to implement it first, because he mentioned CSP technology of SMS is only successful because they sold first plants to companies like Ispat and Nucor, very good people who could operate it. The similar way, I want to sell this plant first to you. And he made an offer that Mr. Mittal should not pay any money for this. Everything will come as a loan, and only after successful commissioning we'll be paid. Ispat can pay the money. So I still remember more than 30, 40 minutes he explained the difference between CSP and the new technology he was proposing us. And it was a very good. That was the time I met him first time and had an opportunity to discuss thoroughly on this thin slab casting and rolling technology with Mr. Benedetti. And then immediately after that, there was an inauguration of new workshop in Thailand. So he invited Mr. Mittal to be part of that. But on the same day, Mr. Lakshmi Mittal's daughter's marriage was there in France. So he said, I can't make it. Then Mr. Benedetti said, then you send this young man as your representative. So then immediately on the next day, I went to Thailand, and our interaction continued. And then after a couple of months, I got a call from Danieli HR team asking me to join Danieli. So I was never thinking I'm working with Mr. Mittal. 2007-8 was the best time for steel industry, traveling in helicopter, in chartered flights, enjoying Mumbai life. Why these people are behind? I just thought it's just a follow-up. So I said I was just passing the time. Then 2 months, 3 months, every month I used to get a call. So then 2008, October, November came. We all know the complete disaster, complete world was melting. So then that time, I think Mr. Benedetti has told this is the last chance. You want to join. Otherwise, also you say no. So then I thought, okay, I asked something. Then everything was agreed, and then I went on board. 2008 November, I joined Danieli on the same day when there was a big mishap in Mumbai. A bad incident happened in Mumbai, Taj Mahal and other hotels. On the same day, I joined Danieli. And then till then, steel was doing very good 2-3 years, and I joined Danieli. Then I had to attend all the private sector customers, but there was nothing. I mean, all my old friends, everybody said all the projects are stopped. You want to come to have coffee, you can come, but for business, nothing. Then Mr. Benedetti came to India. We had dinner with Mr. Sajan Jindal. Then he took me to Mr. Ruyas. We had a lot of this one, but it's only hi, good, with no business. So then, yeah, that was the time he said, so this is a time really we learn. I think I still remember his words that when everything is good, you don't learn. And this is a time we really learn. I think a lot of actions and things were taken in 2008, 9, 10. And fortunately, in 2009-10, we got a breakthrough. We could sell a few projects, including one in Jindal Shadid. So then, of course, things got improved. And then every time he used to come to India, he was telling me, and take me one-to-one, Satya, tell me, what is that I can improve to impress Indian customers? So then I don't know whether to tell or not to tell. He said, no problem, please tell me. So then I told him, see, whenever any Indian promoter invites you for a marriage, you must accept it and attend. But you did not attend a couple of marriages. Oh, he understood, yes. And after that, all the marriages, Mr. Sajan Jindal's daughter's marriage, other marriage, of course, one of the marriages, he helped them to arrange in Italy. So he always, he was attending the marriages in Indian, this one, everything. And then 2012 came when I lost my father. And I had to leave Danieli because I wanted to go back to my native place, Bangalore. So then that was the time Mr. Benedetti, through Mr. Franco Alzetta, he sent condolences, and then he said, whatever, he gave a white paper, he said, whatever you want, you write, we want to retain you. You want to become board member, you want to become this one, you want to come to Italy. So whatever it is, we want you to stay back. But then I told, because my mother, etc., I went back to Bangalore. But then he just sent a message that our doors are always open for you. Whenever you think of coming back, you can come back. And it was very nice that 2012 I had a very happily I left. And even then we were in touch with each other. And then after a few years, I thought of going back to Danieli. Then I just called. Immediately the doors were opened and he called me to Italy. Again, the same interaction. He was never asking anything else. What is the technology, how that is working, how these people are, this one. Very exciting. Almost more than 30-40 minutes he gave me. And our relation, I mean, this continued. Even now I remember just 2 months before he sent me a message. We commissioned this very well. I think it was really exciting, enthusiastic, always as the usual. I think whatever I am today, one of the reasons is because of him. I could really learn a lot of technologies. So in India, in Bhagavad Gita, we say, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, Nachainam kledayantapo, na shosha yati marutaha. So our soul, our Atma, it cannot be shattered by weapons. It cannot be burnt by fire. It cannot be drenched by the waters, and it cannot be rendered dry by the winds. So with these words, I pray Lord Krishna to give Sadgati to departed soul. And thank you very much, my friend Nirmalya and the team for arranging this program. And even I was like Panwar, I was also willing to see him this month end in Italy, but unfortunately he is not there. But still, we are going to Italy with all the memories. And I wish all the best to Danieli and all the people in Danieli. Thank you, Nirmalya, for this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Satya Bodhaji. Thank you so much. I've always known you as a wonderful human being. The same goes for Mr. Benedetti, who was such a wonderful human being to interact with. Every opportunity whenever I remember Satya Bodhaji, every dim, he was such a wonderful host. He would go up to everyone and ensure that they are comfortable, whether it was for the gala dinner, whether it was for the musical program in the evenings that we used to go to. Cividale or any other location away from Udine. Everywhere he would ensure that he plays the role of the perfect host. And
Correct. Absolutely. Hope you are joining this month end, no? DIM.
Yes, I'm coming on 27th.
Okay.
To
Great. See you there. Yeah.
I will reach Trieste on 27th. So I will be there till the 30th. We will see each other there in again to enjoy the Danelli hospitality. And I'm sure Mr. Panwar will also join us there in Udine. So it will be reliving the memories of Mr. Benedetti for years to come. So I must thank the first invitation for DIM came from Mr. Paolone when I did not know the exact date. So he was the one who gave me the dates and said, this is the plan for the DIM which is happening. And my special thanks to Mr. Paolone for inviting me. And we will relive the good times of Mr. Benedetti.
Great. So all of us will meet again in physically this month end. Yeah.
Yeah. We wait for you guys.
With that, I will request Mr. Saraugi, again, a big customer of Danelli and someone who shared his photograph with Mr. Benedetti in the group. And immediately I requested him, Saraugi, would you be kind enough to address and share your memories with Mr. He agreed immediately. And yes, he said, I will surely join. So thank you, Saraugi, for your kind consent to join immediately and share the memories you had with Mr. Benedetti, which all of us share it as a legacy today. We believe it's been a legacy of Mr. Benedetti, which we are living today. So over to you, Mr. Saraugi. You have a very major job to perform because you will also be summing up for what we spoke today. So all the speakers who spoke, you will also sum up for all of them and put in your thoughts. So over to you, Mr. Dinesh Kumar Saraugi, CEO, Vulcan Green Steel, part of JSPL in Oman, and the project where Danelli can be proud of. Over to you, Saraugi.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. So nice of you. We heard a lot about Mr. Benedetti from all my colleagues. Really, we cannot forget Mr. Benedetti in my life. Just when we heard about Mr. Benedetti that he is no more, I immediately call our respected chairman, Sri Naveen Jindal ji. I got such message from Italy that he's no more. He was not believing. Perhaps last discussions, what he had with us only about 2 days back only from his last breath. 2 days back, we were discussing for the entire Oman project. We were, as you know, we are putting up here big plant, 6 million ton steel plant in Dukkum, Oman. So we were discussing for the entire technology with him. DRA module, steel melting saw module, caster, QSP, lot of things we were discussing. And he was heading from Delhi side, and he was discussing a lot with our chairman, with us. Sarmaji was also there, Venkatesh Bindal was also there, and he was saying about his technology. Then we have come for the discussion of commercial price, everything. So we were not knowing at that time that after 2 days we will not see Mr. Benedetti. It was really very high surprise to all of us. Nevinji also told me what happened, how it happened. I don't know, sir, what happened, but I will check from them and I will let you know, sir, please. About 2 months back also, when we met in Italy with Mr. Benedetti, Really, in that age also, he was doing work for Denali. We cannot believe, I don't know, in that age, 82 years age, whether we can perform or not, but he was performing, really. And he was working so hard in his office and in wherever he was going. And when we were discussing with him, we have discussed a lot, no doubt. But in last meeting, when we are discussing with him, and he was telling about his QSP. QSP means thin slab casting rolling mill. And what he was knowing and what he was saying, I told no mill is better than QSP. Why? Because we have also commissioned in Angul HSM, and we have commissioned a lot of mills, plate mill. But this mill is really very good mill, and we are after that only. So he told about a lot of things about QSP, and he told about lot of things about DRI plant, lot of things we were discussing his office. Really, we cannot forget him, such man in our life. Just Satyabhata told about steel melting shop when we took over General Sadit plant of Oman in 2010. That time we were having only one DRI plant, 2.5 million, 2 million ton DRI plant. And we have already placed order of steel melting shop on one China party. And we have already paid at that time, means our old owner, they already paid 20 million dollar to that Chinese party. And when we have took over this Sadit plant, we decided that okay, let it go. With 20 million dollar we have just lost, and we thought we will not go and at that time with any other company other than China, Denali. When we discussed with this steel melting shop with Denali team, and we have placed the order, you will not believe. Today I can say boldly that no steel melting shop in the world is better than that Denali melting shop what we are running in Sadit, in the Sadit. That plant was of 2 million ton, and today we are producing 2.3 million ton steel from that furnace, and we are going to produce 2.7 million ton from that furnace only. Today, why we are not producing 2.7? Because we have shortage of oxygens. So once we'll get the oxygen, we will produce 2.7 million ton. So they are this Denali team. They are not um, mm, people other than technicians. I have seen whenever we were having any problem in anywhere in our India plant or in our Sadit plant or here in Dukkum plant, they are immediately coming to us and attending the problem. And these things we have not seen any other their computers. Mr. Panamar also knows you commission one. Thank you very much. We also commissioned generally blast furnace in 2005, I think, Mr. Panamar. And that blast furnace was the example for all of other industrialists. The way we commission in time and the output of that blast furnace, nobody can beat us. Denali means that technology supplied by only Denali. So people are saying after our Babuji, means our Mr. O.P. Jindaji, if anybody can see, he can see Mr. Benedetti. Yes, it is true. I have seen both person in my life. I have worked with Mr. O.P. Jindaji, Babuji. I know him. And after that, if I have met any person, that person is Mr. Benedetti only. And today in our life, both persons are not life. It's like really our bad luck, hard luck. So so I can say a lot about Mr. Benedetti, but you people already told a lot of things about Mr. Benedetti. Just I can say enough, even though he is not with us anymore, His memory will always be alive in our hearts. As we conclude, let us offer our sincere condolence to Mr. Benedetti's family, friends, and colleagues. Thank you, everyone. And once again, thank you very much, Mr. Nirmala Mukherjee, what you are doing today, what you have done today for Mr. Benedetti and for us. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Mukherjee. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sarogi ji. Just
Sarogi sir.
Thank you, Mr. Parmar.
Sarogi ji, there is only one small little message which I have on my mobile. The moment I sent the information to Naveen ji on his WhatsApp that Mr. Benedetti is no more, he sent his condolences immediately. This is Naveen ji's condolence which he had sent immediately when I sent, because as you know, Sajan ji was also very close to Mr. Benedetti, and in fact I remember the time when Mr. Lakshmi Mittal was also there in Paris for the World Steel. It was Mr. Benedetti who had invited, Sajan ji and Sangeeta ji together for a dinner. And in fact, Sajan ji was kind enough to leave the dinner invitation of Mr. Lakshmi Mittal and join Mr. Benedetti with Sangeeta ji for that dinner. So it speaks a lot for the relationship which Mr. Benedetti had with Sajan ji over the years.
Yeah. We have finalized 2 blast furnaces. One for Mr. Panmar is knowing all these things.
Yeah.
2 blast furnaces, one for JSW, one for General Steel Power. And we have commissioned both blast furnaces in very good manner. People now.
2005, and I think these furnaces were commissioned in record time. And Raigad furnace was leading all blast furnaces in India, much ahead in productivity, in performance. And till today, these furnaces are working very well. Till today.
1681, yeah. 1681 blast furnace.
So I cannot forget, Sarogi Saab, that furnace project. One side, Mr. Sarogi, and the other side, Mr. Patidar. It was really amazing project for me also.
I know. How you have done that project, we cannot forget Mr. Parmar. Again, so nice of you.
That's the legacy of Danelli, which goes forward and forever we will be. So I would just request Mr. Rolando Paolone to make a final statement before we close today's memorial, and we join hands together to pray for the entire Benedetti family and the entire Danelli family. I, in fact, wanted to check with Mr. Paolone if we could get Mr. Benedetti's daughter, Camilla, whom I have also met. And she is, again, a very strong and wonderful lady. And I'm sure she will also carry on with the legacy of the family together, along with Giacomo, the other shareholder, Anna, the other shareholder, and all the shareholders of the company, as well as the board members who will take the legacy forward. One final word from you, Mr. Paolone, before we close today's session.
Yeah, thanks for this meeting. Thanks for the words I heard from everybody here. Very good, very nice. He's a good remember for this gentleman. And okay, yes, we will keep going in the direction he showed us, and he showed us very well. so I'm sure he will be happy from somewhere where he is about our direction and our steps forward, because we really think we learn a lot and we will apply all the things this gentleman teach us. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for all those who have been listening to us on YouTube Live, and the YouTube recording will be there for everyone who wants to see it tomorrow, day after. It will be there forever on YouTube to remember Mr. Benedetti whenever we remember. He will always be with us. Maybe he is not with us physically, but his guidance will be with us forever. His memories will be with us forever. And his soul, the soul never goes away. The soul is with us forever. So may we once again pray for the departed soul. May his soul rest in peace. Amen. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.